Such clueless expressions, like father like son, ha.
As my son Matt forgot something, I headed to my workplace at a major bread company. But there, I was stopped by Jack, who suspected I was up to something untoward. With Matt's arrival, however, the situation was somewhat resolved. However, it turns out he is the son of George, the branch manager. A few days later, to cheer up Matt, who was worried about getting noticed by Jack, I took him to a social gathering. Yet there we encountered Jack again, and Matt ended up getting beer spilled on him.
Which branch are you from? Bring your manager here.
I was angry at Jack for doing whatever he wanted and demanded he bring his father. Initially, Jack acted tough, but his complexion changed after being whispered to by the executives. My name is Keeney. A former employee of a major bread company, I retired at 60, keeping a deep connection to the company. At 64, I still frequently hear from my former subordinates. This April, my 24-year-old son Matt was promoted to section manager. I was surprised when I heard Matt would join the same company following in my footsteps. But I always believed that his serious and hard-working nature would lead to growth, and I supported him quietly. This morning, after Matt entered the company, I found some documents left on the table.
It's good to be enthusiastic about work, but being too serious to the point of not seeing around you is a flaw.
I said as I looked at the documents, which were important for a presentation. Thinking I could make it to the meeting in time, I decided to head to the headquarters by taxi. On the way, I called to let Matt know I was delivering something he had forgotten, and hurried on. Matt has been diligent since his student days, so much so that his friends call him stiff for his seriousness. Since becoming a professional, his stiffness has only become more pronounced, even on weekends. He tries to learn business know-how from me with a business book in hand. I always tell him to relax, but he seems to struggle with taking breaks. Once you're working, you inevitably come to appreciate just how precious a 2-day weekend is. So, teaching Matt how to unwind rather than business know-how should have been my priority. Arriving at the company, I carefully held the documents and entered the entrance. It was just past 9 a.m. Perhaps because it was past start time, there weren't many people walking through the entrance. I waved to a familiar security guard and was about to board the elevator when it happened.
Hey, wait, you there, old man?
I was grabbed from behind on the shoulder and turned around to see a young man about Matt's age glaring at me.
The company is off limits to non-employees. Outsiders need to leave.
He looked me up and down from toe to head and said that
this is a well-known major bread company that owns 17 groups, you know.
This isn't a place where an old man like you can just walk in. As I stayed silent, the man snorted heavily through his nose.
Or maybe you're so senile you think this is your house, huh?
I grimaced at his mocking comment, but replied calmly.
My apologies, I'm just here to deliver something my son forgot.
I showed the man the documents. Observing him closely, I saw a badge around his neck with Jack written on it. Even after explaining, Jack still looked suspicious.
Suspicious, huh? Are you a spy from another company here to steal secret product info?
A spy.
The word, which I had only heard in movies, made me burst out laughing.
Haha, no way I'm a spy. Watching too many movies, aren't we?
I laughed, but I didn't mean to mock him. However, Jack glared at me, his face turning red.
Trying to laugh it off, huh, you suspicious person?
My bad. I didn't mean to insult you.
I quickly clarified to Jack, who thought he was being mocked. A security guard watching from afar judged it wasn't a trouble and walked away to another spot.
I really am just here to deliver something my son forgot. You're welcome to check if you like.
If I try to force my way onto the elevator now, Jack will completely treat me as a suspicious person. That would embarrass Matt, so I want to resolve this calmly. To safely get on the elevator, I need to clear up this man's misunderstanding.
There's no need for complications. I'll throw you out myself, stop your yapping, and just get out.
From what I've heard so far, despite this being our first meeting, Jack's behavior is terrible. One would expect better manners from an employee of a large corporation.
I appreciate that you want to protect the company.
But what's with your behavior? Your language is terrible, and your attitude towards someone older is rough. You're like a delinquent. Pointing this out made Jack furrow his brows and look menacing.
A delinquent? Who do you think I am? I'm the son of the branch manager.
What? The branch manager's son?
I was quite shocked to learn who he was.
Hot scared, aren't you? Everyone who finds out I'm the branch manager's son ends up doing as I say.
I had no idea that the man in front of me was the branch manager's son.
To think you were the branch manager's son?
I was utterly surprised by Jack's words.
Surprised, huh? I'm going to take over this company after my dad.
Stunned, I just stared as Jack gave a smug look. Hearing his ambitions, I couldn't help but offer some advice.
If you want to be at the top of the company, it's better to learn some manners.
Making enemies recklessly, even with people you dislike, is dangerous for you. Even if you're irritated or spoken ill of, having manners allows you to respond calmly. This is advice I often give to Matt as well. Since Jack looked about Matt's age, I spoke out of parental concern. But that seemed to irritate him.
Don't act all high and mighty when you're just some suspicious person.
Jack became even angrier and snatched the documents.
Hey, those are important documents. Give them back.
Humph, as if I'd be fooled by some piece of paper.
Just as Jack was about to tear up the documents, the sound of the elevator arriving could be heard. It seemed someone had come down from a higher floor. The elevator doors opened, and there was Matt.
Hot Dad, what are you doing here?
It appears he had seen my message and come down to the entrance to meet me. Matt looked puzzled at the scene between me and Jack.
Is there a problem with my father?
Jack glanced between me and Matt, clicked his tongue, and thrust the documents at me.
What, you really had a relative here?
Thanks to Matt's arrival, the misunderstanding was cleared up, and I could finally deliver the forgotten item.
Matt, these are important documents, right?
Oh, they're the materials for the presentation. I was really panicking because I couldn't find them.
Thanks, Dad. Now I can make it to the afternoon presentation. Matt, relieved, took the documents and thanked me. My mission was accomplished, but Jack still looked displeased.
Having your dad deliver forgotten items? Incompetent.
Then, as if to vent his irritation, he deliberately taunted Matt.
It's a nuisance to still be in a student mindset.
I'm sorry, I'll be more careful about forgetting things in the future.
Chastised, he honestly admitted his fault and bowed his head. Then Jack satisfyingly flared his nostrils. I thought they were the same age, but it turns out he's older than Matt.
Wait, forgetting things isn't good, but your attitude is also questionable.
What, we're done here, old man? Just go home.
At his words, Matt's eyes widened, and his anger was evident. I made eye contact with Matt, signaling him to stay calm.
Matt admitted his carelessness and apologized honestly.
But what about you? Getting defensive when called out on your language is hardly adult-like.
Don't you lecture me, just some old man.
Then, Jack looked between us and glared at Matt.
I can have my dad transfer you from the city to a rural branch if I want. Don't cross me if you dislike that idea.
What?
With a smug smile, Jack stepped into the elevator.
My dad is the branch manager. Cross me, and it won't go unpunished.
As the elevator doors closed and it ascended, we were left dumbfounded. But soon, anger at Jack's words began to simmer.
What's with that young man? He has no manners at all.
However, Matt seemed familiar with him and sighed.
That's Jack, a year older than me. He's a senior from another department, just as the rumors said.
Rumors? What rumors?
According to Matt, Jack uses his father's position as branch manager to intimidate the regular staff. He's tyrannical towards subordinates and those in weaker positions, and those who oppose him get transferred to other companies.
I heard from a senior that an employee who crossed Jack was sent to the countryside the very next day.
I've never heard such a thing. Why hasn't the upper management known about this?
It's probably because the branch manager's pressure is at play. Even if trouble arises, the branch manager smothers it.
I couldn't hide my surprise upon hearing this rumor for the first time. Using parental connections to do as one pleases is not acceptable behavior for a professional.
Geez, maybe I've caught his attention too.
Matt laughed, but there was an uneasy look about him. Ultimately, it was my fault for getting tangled up with Jack.
Matt, I'm here for you. If you have trouble, consult with someone you can trust.
Yeah, thanks.
After seeing Matt onto the elevator, I took a taxi home. All I did was deliver a forgotten item, but I ended up in quite a mess. Even though Jack is just Matt's senior, I can't ignore his awful behavior. So, I pulled out my cell phone and made a call.
It's me. There's something I need you to look into.
Even after getting home, I was still concerned about Jack and the president, so I had one of my subordinates confirm something by phone. Perhaps because Matt and Jack are assigned to different departments, they've managed to avoid each other. Since that day, Matt has become more sensitive to the carelessness of forgetting things and seems unable to relax even in his personal life. Even though I tell Matt to relax, being the diligent person he is, he made sure to double-check his work. 2 weeks later, tonight there's a social gathering with the executives, and I was invited by a colleague who has become an executive. It's a great opportunity to mingle and drink, so I invited Matt to join me at the upscale club where the event was held. Upon arrival, the club manager greeted us with a smile at the door. Matt, who has never been to a club, was visibly nervous and walked awkwardly.
If you're this tense, you won't enjoy the drinks.
But I rarely drink, and I'm starting to feel nervous.
When we arrived, the cityscape from the windows was a breathtaking view. The calm decor and the jazz band playing set the perfect atmosphere. Since the club was reserved for the gathering, the executives were already enjoying their drinks.
All right. First, let's go around and greet everyone. Come with me, Matt.
Yes, sir.
Just as we were about to approach the executives, a familiar voice caught my ear.
Hot if it isn't you guys again.
Turning towards the voice, there was Jack with a beer in hand. He must have been brought by his father, being the branch manager's son.
Fancy meeting you here. Can't get enough of following Daddy around, huh?
Saying that, he taunted Matt.
I'm just here because my dad brought me along tonight.
This is a gathering for executives only. Incompetent duos like you should leave.
Matt's face soured as Jack waved him off like swatting a fly.
I may still be inexperienced, but my father is different.
Different how? He's just a pathetic old man.
Matt became angrier at the insult towards me, his tone growing sharper.
Even if you're my senior, there are things you shouldn't say.
Annoyed by the rebuttal, Jack glared at Matt. Feeling the tension rising, I grabbed Matt's arm to calm him down.
Let it go. We shouldn't argue in a place like this.
But Dad, to have you insulted like that?
He looked at Jack with frustration.
Don't get emotional. There's nothing good in dealing with someone like him.
Hey, old man, are you referring to me as someone like him?
The jazz band was playing in the club, and the executives didn't notice our argument because of the music. Matt stepped forward and glared fiercely at Jack.
I should have said this when we last met, but please apologize for the insults to my father.
Huh, no way.
Matt was serious, but Jack provocatively refused to apologize. which only angered Matt more.
Can't you even apologize, and you're my senior by just a year?
What? Don't you realize I've been nice to you?
The two glared at each other, sparks flying. I was the only one worried it might escalate into a physical confrontation.
If you can't apologize, then please leave.
Who do you think you are telling me to leave? You must be pretty stupid to say that knowing I'm the branch manager's son.
Deciding that the situation could worsen, I thought it best to take Matt and leave.
Matt, let's go home for today. I'll apologize to our host.
Dad, are you okay with this? It's unbearable to let him say whatever he wants.
This is a social gathering. I won't allow any unruly behavior.
With a stern admonition, Matt hung his head in disappointment. Seeing our interaction, Jack chuckled and approached Matt.
Getting scolded by your dad at your age? Pathetic. If you want to drink, I'll let you drink.
Just when I wondered what he would do next, he poured beer over Matt's head.
Matt.
At that moment, the jazz band's music stopped. Because I raised my voice in the sudden silence, everyone around us turned to look. Seeing Matt drenched in beer, Jack burst out laughing.
Those clueless expressions, like father, like son, ha.
I was completely furious with his reckless behavior.
Which branch are you from? Bring your manager here.
When I demanded he bring his father, Jack looked stunned.
What?
This is not a request. It's an order.
Noticing the change in me, Matt also started to sweat.
Which branch you say? It's obviously the scat branch.
Oh, New York, ha.
The scat branch stands out among others for its excellent performance. It has many talented employees, and transferring to the New York branch is considered a promotion. However, in recent years, the high workload has also led to a high turnover rate, and how to reduce the employees' burden has been a concern at executive meetings.
What with the sudden authoritative tone? Upset because your precious son got soaked, ha.
Angered, I faced the man who seemed unaware of who he was provoking with his taunts.
By the way, I hear you're Matt Sr. How many years have you been with the company?
Why do I have to tell you?
Just say it.
As I spoke more firmly, Jack showed signs of intimidation and muttered under his glare.
It's my second year.
Second year, you are still green, and yet you act all high and mighty with Matt.
Laughing at the inexperienced Jack, he turned red with anger.
Shut up, you've been saying all sorts of things. Just because you're an old man doesn't mean you get away with anything.
I'll return those words right back to you.
As we glared at each other, the executives around us looked pale and approached Jack.
What's going on? I'm just talking to this old man here.
But as soon as one of the executives whispered in his ear, Jack's eyes widened and he turned towards me like a rusted toy.
No way, this old man is the chairman.
Our eyes in the room then focused on him. Both Matt and I stared at him with intense gazes.
It's true, my father is the former CEO and currently serves as the chairman of our company.
Matt stated, and I nodded in agreement, causing Jack to start trembling.
No way.
It's no lie, if he weren't the chairman, he wouldn't be invited to a gathering with these executives.
I am the chairman of a major bread manufacturing company that owns 17 subsidiaries in the food sector. As Matt mentioned, I served as CEO before retiring, but now I've passed on the role and currently serve as chairman and advisor, supporting the president. I often inspect our 50 nationwide factories in place of the president and attend events of our group companies. All this is a crucial duty to deepen our connections with others in the industry. And here Jack, just 2 years into the company, has hurled insults at me, the chairman, and my son Matt. Even a fool would understand what this implies.
Do you remember your actions up to now?
Well,
Questioned, he was visibly shaken and cast his gaze to the floor. Looking around nervously, he sought help from those nearby, but the executives are also my subordinates. None of them felt inclined to side with the impudent youth. In fact, they harbored animosity towards Jack for his insults towards me.
You spoke so freely to Matt and me without even knowing who you were dealing with.
Finally realizing the seriousness of the situation, Jack's lips trembled, and he seemed unable to speak. Matt had been glaring at him with a stern expression.
Isn't your father here? Bring him immediately.
Yes, sir.
When I spoke a bit more forcefully, he reacted sharply and ran off. He must know that running away is pointless, so he'll likely return soon. After Jack went to fetch his father, Matt spoke to me.
What are you planning to do by calling the branch manager?
It's clear. I'm going to tell him everything Jack did. Plus, I have other business with a branch manager.
Matt looked puzzled. Just before heading to the social gathering, I had learned something from my subordinate. Within a minute, the sound of two people running could be heard.
Did you call for me, Chairman Smith?
It was Jack and the branch manager, George, who had arrived.
I apologize for interrupting the gathering.
No, not at all. I'll come whenever the chairman commands.
George bowed repeatedly to me. Jack couldn't believe the scene before him, looking utterly incredulous.
Seriously? I can't believe my dad is bowing to someone else.
Jack was still oblivious to the gravity of the situation and attempted a polite smile as he spoke to me.
I was away from my phone, so I'm a bit out of the loop. What exactly happened here?
Glancing briefly at Jack, who was now pale and silent, I noticed he looked like a completely different person from the bold figure we met upon arrival, now resembling a defanged animal.
Well, your son here has been quite the character, I joked.
Is that so? My son is quite capable, isn't he?
George misunderstood my comment as praise and smiled happily. However, I made it clear.
I was indeed surprised by Jack's honesty. He called me an old man and went so far as to call Matt incompetent.
As Matt nodded in agreement to my words, George was shocked.
What? Jack called the chairman old man, and he insulted Matt too.
That's not all. Our first encounter was quite shocking as well, I continued, explaining everything that happened the day I delivered Matt's forgotten item. During this, Jack seemed to disappear into the background, pressing himself against the wall.
I can't believe Jack would do such awful things.
And he poured beer on Matt. We'll be sending you the cleaning bill.
George muttered under his breath and shook his head from side to side.
We'll compensate for Matt's suit, but please believe this, Jack is not a bad kid.
Just when I thought George would apologize, he began to defend Jack, surprising both Matt and me with his unexpected actions.
Honestly, I can't believe that he would do something terrible.
Jack is a good kid who cares about his family. Maybe Matt accidentally spilled the beer. Matt immediately objected to George's words.
What? I was definitely splashed with beer by Jack.
Hearing him try to deflect responsibility infuriated me. Contrastingly, Jack, cheered by George's support, brightened up and stood beside him.
That's right, the chairman and others are misunderstanding me. Dad, please clear this up.
It seemed that father and son were close. But I am not senile yet.
Look, even his son is saying this. Could we perhaps settle this situation in my favor?
They both tried to play dumb in unison, but it was futile. That's because not only Matt and I were there, but also the executives who witnessed the beer being thrown earlier.
Look around. The executives here also witnessed the scene. It's not just us who are unsatisfied.
What?
Urged by me, George looked around at the people present. The band members, the barmaster, and even the executives were glaring at George and his son. Their stares told the whole story of who did what.
Branch manager George, you shouldn't even think about making excuses. Everyone here is a witness.
But Jack is truly sincere. He's my pride.
As George desperately defended Jack, I revealed something crucial.
Would a truly honest young man need to use connections to get a job?
What?
George and his son were taken aback, staring at me in disbelief.
What do you mean by connections?
This was something even Matt didn't know, as I had kept it highly confidential and had it investigated.
Branch manager George got his son a job through connections.
When confronted with the truth, George and his son started to sweat profusely.
It's disappointing to see that someone would stoop so low to get a job, especially when it's the branch manager.
It was good that I had my subordinate investigate. Jack had said he joined the company 2 years ago, but he was actually not selected through normal recruitment. However, George exerted his influence over the HR department at the headquarters to secure his son's employment. Jack likely had no other options, so he must have pleaded with his father to help him get the job. The reason this fact didn't come out over the past 2 years is that George had been bribing the HR department. When I checked with someone in HR, they immediately confessed the truth. They had been threatened by George, who said he'd make sure they couldn't stay at the company if they ever disclosed his son's admission through connections. The bribe effectively made them accomplices, and they felt they couldn't tell anyone until now. However, George's transgressions didn't stop there. He had also been bribing Jack's supervisors to ensure his son only had easy tasks.
It's abhorrent to threaten people. What you've done has actually spoiled your son, not helped him.
I rebuked sharply, causing George to bow his head.
I apologize. I only wanted to groom Jack to be my successor.
So, you admit to using connections and threatening the HR department.
Yes. I deeply apologize for the disrespect my son has shown towards the chairman and Matt.
Finally, George offered an apology. Meanwhile, Jack awkwardly turned his face away from us.
Dad, what will happen to the branch managers?
Since they acted without consulting me or the president, firing them both would be appropriate.
Hearing about being fired, George suddenly raised his head, but then immediately prostrated himself on the ground.
I don't mind being fired, but please let Jack stay with the company.
George's self-serving plea elicited boos and "don't joke around" from the executives. Even I despised George for his shameless defense after admitting his guilt.
Jack is my dearly raised son, a huge investment.
Any parent, including you, Mr. Chairman, would understand wanting their child in a good company, right? George implored me with tearful eyes.
I can empathize with your feelings as a father.
Then please, I beg you, give my son another chance.
Watching George prostrate himself, I scratched my head.
A chance, frankly, neither of you is needed at our company anymore.
I don't care what happens to me, but my son is still young. Please give him a chance to reform.
George pleaded for only Jack to remain at the company, but I had no intention of giving him that chance. I had planned to fire both of them, to ensure they never set foot in the company again. I had decided this given their negative influence on Matt and other employees. It's not a kind world that offers chances to such people. If we let them off now, it sets a precedent that could hinder future discipline. Just as I was about to say no, George clung to Matt.
Matt, please, I'm begging you, forgive Jack.
Get off me, please.
Matt struggled as the man clung to his legs.
Use my son however you like.
Really? I can use him however I want.
Hearing George's words, an idea struck me.
Then, how about we make Jack work under Matt?
What?
Ha.
Both Matt and the silent Jack were shocked.
I truly think both should be fired, but since branch manager George insists, let's see what Jack is capable of.
Dad, are you serious?
But making him a subordinate doesn't mean he's off the hook.
If Jack can properly handle his duties under Matt, I'll consider revoking his dismissal.
But if he shows any defiance towards the staff, he's immediately fired.
Thank you so much. You're lucky, Jack.
George embraced his son joyfully. However, Jack grimaced, clearly displeased. After that, the social gathering ended, and I made apologies to the executives. George agreed to fully compensate for the suit, Matt's suit, which was ruined by beer. However, compensation does not absolve all wrongdoings. After returning home, I reported the incident and the subsequent dismissals to the president, suggesting appropriate actions. I can only advise, but I expect the president will take this situation seriously and proceed with George's dismissal. Those employees involved in the bribery will also, regrettably, face necessary disciplinary actions. If they had spoken up earlier, this might have been avoided. Jack went home with George, showing no signs of remorse throughout. Nonetheless, starting tomorrow, he must confront his actions as an underling to Matt. The next day, as promised, Jack began working under Matt's direction, where any impudence would not be tolerated. Employees who were unaware of the situation were shocked but soon understood that Jack must be facing some penalty due to his notorious reputation. They found it amusing to see him, previously so arrogant, now reporting to someone younger. Highly proud, Jack found it unbearable to be ridiculed by everyone and gradually began to show a defiant attitude. Initially, George had encouraged him to persevere until he gained recognition. But frustration led Jack to disobey orders and start slacking off. 2 weeks later, seeing no hope for reform, Matt reported Jack's negligence to me and the president.
It appears that Jack has not been commendable after all.
It can't be helped. Call Jack and George here.
A few minutes later, when the two arrived in the president's office, I informed them of their dismissal. Faced with the harsh reality, George became extremely agitated and confronted us.
What was wrong? Jack did everything properly, didn't he?
I signaled to Matt, asking him to explain.
The reasons for the dismissal include defiant behavior towards other employees,
Uncooperative attitudes, negligence in duties, and, most importantly, defamation against me.
Defamation? Did Jack say something bad about you?
Matt then pulled out his phone and showed a social media screen.
We discovered Jack's secret account on social media.
He had written about my real name and job details, so it was immediately clear it was him. As Matt spoke calmly, Jack was stunned to learn that his secret account had been exposed. This account contained malicious insults about Matt, such as riding on his parents' coattails. An incompetent son with a powerful father. It also included complaints about his job, with some details that could potentially identify the company.
This has gone beyond mere forgiveness. It's a serious case of data leakage.
We will demand compensation from Jack for the damages to our company and to Matt, followed by his dismissal for misconduct.
No way.
Jack collapsed to his knees in despair.
I'm sorry. I was just frustrated from being laughed at by everyone.
It's too late for apologies now. Both of you, get out of this company.
My reprimand left the two of them in tears as they left the president's office. As a result, Jack paid us damages and was fired. However, the defamation and leaking of company information were so egregious that I consulted with the president and decided to report it to the police. Later, Jack was arrested and fined 500,000 yen, making him a convicted felon. After being fired, George started another business and began a family-run enterprise with his son. This saved him from unemployment, but when their relatives heard about it, they begged for their children to be employed too. Some of these relatives had been unemployed for over 10 years. But George hired them all thinking it would save on recruitment costs. However, managing a business with only family has its limits. Moreover, training people who hadn't worked properly for years was neither feasible nor successful, leading to incompetent relatives. Attempts to hire experienced or younger talents failed as they were mistreated and quickly resigned. Tensions among the relatives over positions and treatment led to internal conflicts and factional disputes within the company. Jack and his family got caught up in these disputes, and eventually, the company was taken over by the relatives. Stress and strife deteriorated George's health, confining him to a hospital bed. Both father and son were ousted and became social outcasts. Stressed, Jack began associating with unsavory characters and started a resale business with a bad friend. But they were arrested for selling stolen goods. Elevated by his parents' status, Jack's attempt to earn easy money led to severe consequences. It's unlikely anyone will help him now that he has hit rock bottom. Since then, the company has returned to its peaceful operations. Despite having been embroiled in troubles, Matt has skillfully handled his assignments and has grown impressively as a businessman. The executives are discussing him as a potential future president. However, I am not yet ready to accept Matt becoming president. Matt himself insists on being evaluated not as the chairman's son, but as an individual employee. I am eager to see how this promising young man will continue to develop.